The gaming industry is literally in meltdown mode after the purchase of EA from a Saudi Arabian investment group. And this is what we've been hearing all throughout the online conversation surrounding this buyout offer that has kind of transitioned the gaming industry far and away from the Western gaming standards, the standards that have been so wrought with controversy all across this past decade, where we've been seeing gamers complain about the quality of games that they've been getting. And now gamers are doing the opposite with these foreign-born purchases, where we see gaming companies being bought by China and Saudi Arabia, and gamers are rejoicing, saying, hey, we are so happy that these games are out of the clutches of the Western gaming industry. And we're seeing the opposite response from the journalists, from the game developers, the activists, the consultancy firms. We're seeing a sense of dread kind of dawn on them, where the games that they had influence over are no longer under their control. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Electronic Arts and this purchase, where the buyout is huge. If you don't know about the purchase of EA, Electronic Arts, it has under its umbrella with titles including RPG games like the Dragon Age Mass Effect series, and of course EA Sports and all the Maddens and FC games that have been coming out to stellar profitability. This is a huge change in the gaming industry, and I think that's what people are reacting to right now. They're seeing this as something that is ground shaking, and they're having a meltdown. If you don't know what happened, September 29th, 2025, Electronic Arts announced it was being acquired in a massive $55 billion deal, making it the second largest transaction in gaming history, right behind Microsoft's Activision Blizzard buyout. The buyers, consortium led by Silver Lake Partners, Saudi Arabia's PIF, and Affinity Partners led by Jared Kushner, of course, Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of the current president. EA shareholders are set to receive $210 per share, a 25% premium over market price, and the company will go private, shielding it from public pressures and manipulation. And this is the thing that is driving people mad about the situation. EA is no longer under the public influence or guidance, where you have to listen to different investment banks, shareholder groups, activist groups. You don't have to focus on bringing in these DEI elements that have been so foisted in the gaming industry. And this is the thing that is sending activists into meltdown mode, along with the gaming journalists that support them, where they're looking at all the RPGs, all the games they had influence over, and they're wondering, hey, are we still going to have the influence that we had beforehand? Because these organizations that have taken control of EA, they don't care about what we want. And more than anything, a private company seriously doesn't care what the public wants, that is not involved in making the purchase and success of their own property. And I think that's the thing that we're going to see clearly with a gaming organization, because games really aren't dependent on public outcry and activism to actually be successful. The only thing that you're required to do for a gaming company is make a game for gamers. And I think that's the thing that a lot of gamers are rejoicing over. They're saying, hey, finally a company is going to have to focus on profitability, because that hasn't been the case for a long time with the current gaming industry in the Western side of the world, where it's not about profitability. It's about making games for an audience of people that you want to change their minds and influence them to have the same political ideology that you have. And that's what we've been seeing with organizations that have taken over the gaming industry these past few years. I'm talking about the Visa, MasterCard that are trying to manipulate Steam and itch.io to have the certain content that they want to have. I'm talking about the Sweet Baby Inks that are trying to change what type of games are being created. I'm talking about the Collective Shouts that are trying to outright censor and ban games. These organizations have come together to try to manipulate the gaming industry, and the more public you are as a gaming company, the more susceptible you are under their influences. Of course, some of these elements will still have their ability to get in the way of gaming, but not as much as they would be able to if they are in the Western gaming environment. I think that's why people cheer when China bought out Ubisoft and some of its intellectual property, because we know China is not going to be influenced by whatever's happening in the Western gaming market. And I think that is the thing that is sending shivers down the spines of activist organizations, because their policy is to bring in these progressive ideals that are in line with their personal ideology. And they've been doing it so successfully these past few years, they don't know what to do without that power. And I think that's what we're seeing the meltdown happening, with many journalists coming out and say, hey, it's over for us. They're going to kick out all the LGBTQ content. They're not going to be interested in doing things that are outside of actually the enjoyment of gaming. And we're going to have a big problem with our influence within that environment. And I think that's what we hear from former BioWare lead writer who sees the EA Saudi deal and speculates that guns and football are going to be the focus. All the LGBTQ stuff is out of the window. RPGs are going to be more focused on things that are gamer friendly, and that is just not our wheelhouse anymore. And I think that is, of course, that's music to gamers' ears. That's not the music that these former game developers and writers and anyone that was involved in the current past 10 years of producing games want to hear. They want to see something more involved with the politics that they want to espouse to the gaming audience. And of course, us gamers, we've been yelling about not wanting to see this for the past few years or so. And we've been doing it loudly, saying, hey, we're not going to buy your game. And a lot of these gaming companies have gone bankrupt because of that. And that's why we have this kind of repellent attitude to these organizations that are complaining right now, because over the last decade, gaming has embraced these ideological trends to their core. And that's what we saw with a lot of EA games like The Sims and Apex Legends and so much other games that were more focused on bringing these ideologies to the forefront rather than making a game for the gaming audience. And I think that's the thing people are seeing right now. There's going to be less diversity, there's going to be less inclusivity, and more games being made for the gaming audience. And when they say games being made more in line with the gaming audience, they're talking about a predominantly male audience, and more than anything, a predominantly white, male, and Asian audience, because that's the majority of gamers. And they've been steering clear of anything related to white male, Asian male, or any male possibility for any games for the past few years. And I think that's the glaring obvious thing that we're seeing right now, where there is going to be a more focus on actually pleasing the audience that makes the biggest purchases for the gaming industry. And I think that's the thing that is outright frightening to the activist organizations and minds that have been involved with manipulating and controlling the gaming industry these past few years. Anonymous sources from EA Studios have leaked concerns about potential content censorship, and that is the main thing that they're very afraid of, especially if you're a person that is within these studios that has been hired because you are a person that was representative of these diverse representative icons that they wanted to see as a focus goal of being within the gaming industry. And I think that's the thing that we see with people complaining about this change, where they see their place in the gaming industry fleeting and almost certainly gone, because even without that ideology, with any acquisition, they're planning to fire people. And of course, with AI and in gaming being more involved with each other, they're planning to fire even more people, especially as a private company where you're trying to save money and you have all the excuses in the world to fire people. There's going to be no lawsuits, because this always happens with the change of the guard with any organization. And this is how we're going to see happen right now. And the outrage that these devs are trying to place online are going to go to deaf ears, because gamers do not care about them. They lost that cachet of actually depending on the gamers to support them. Gamers are like, hey, we don't care, lose your job. As long as they make the games I want, I don't care about you anymore, because you don't care about me. You actually wish that I might die some horrible way. If we look at the Charlie Kirk situation, who am I supposed to care about your layoff? Even though I don't want any harm to come to you, but I'm not going to care about your livelihood if you definitely don't care about my livelihood. And I think that is the mentality of gamers right now. They're like, man, leave me alone. I don't care about anything happening with you. I just want to sit back, play a good Battlefield game that is not focused on all these gender ideologies, even though we kind of do see that in the new one coming out. They can't really change that. But for future games, we're going to get games more oriented to the actual buying parties and male demographic that is out there that is usually purchasing a lot of these EA games. We don't need something that is filled and inundated with these political ideas that are non-essential to gaming, and more than anything, that are made by a group of people that really don't like video games. And I think that's what we've been seeing all throughout the industry these past few years, where we had people that didn't like games making games, complaining about gamers, saying they want to change the gaming industry without even any knowledge of what the gaming industry was at its core, accusing and naming and shaming the gaming industry for things that it already did positively, but they don't have the history of gaming. So this is what they perceive gaming to be, some racist organization of men that do not like women or do not like minorities. This is their perceived understanding of gaming without actually having any experience in gaming. And I think that's what we saw with the Sweet Baby Inc., the people, consultancy firms, these non-entities coming to gaming, trying to change it when gaming was already fine without them, and it will be fine without their organizations. And I think that is the cheering that we're seeing from the gaming audience. But of course, this may come with censorship, the Saudi Arabia purchase. And I think people are rightfully so scared of this censorship because Sharia law, all these elements of Saudi Arabian culture may come in and have a backlash against gamers. But so far, we haven't seen that with other acquisitions they had with SNK. Those games are still the games that they're meant to be. I think we're probably going to see the same thing with EA because it is about profitability. In their own country, they may keep those bans and alterations to the games, and I think that is a happy medium gamers would be fine with if they ban certain content within their own country. And I think this is the thing gamers actually want. Hey, if you want to change the game in your own country, fine, just make the game that I want. I'm gonna buy it, I'll support you. You do what you do where you want to be. And I think more than anything, people love that Saudi Arabia purchased it because the princes, some of the kings, they play video games. They have Steam accounts. They have Reddit accounts saying, thank you, I bought EA. We're enjoying this. And I think this is the situation gamers want EA to be in, where they're run by gamers for once. And I think that people that made the purchase, at least the Saudi Arabian investment firm, they have a lot of gamers part of their company. There's known gamers talking about, hey, I want to purchase some of these studios because I want these games to be great. And I think that is the fun thing that we're seeing right now with some of the Saudi Arabian princes, where they're talking about their purchase. They have over 40,000 hours playing video games on Steam. They're a gamer, they're interacting with the gamers, and I think that's the thing we want from game developers. Hey, just be a gamer, love gaming, and make some good games, and we'll support you. And I think that's what's going to happen with Saudi Arabia's purchase with EA. We got a gamer back in charge, and we may be getting some good games from EA in the future, and I'm happy about it. I love EA. I thought all their franchises will go away and die, but now they may be coming back to life. I'm looking forward to Dead Space, Mass Effect now. I was kind of writing Mass Effect off, but now I'm thinking, hey, Mass Effect might be great. So this is an exciting thing for me. I'm loving this, and hopefully they keep those changes rolling. And I think that is the thing all gamers want. But that's just my 2 cents on the situation. Maybe you disagree with me. Tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.